Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sun Moon Audiobook, the channel where we share wisdom and inspiring book journeys to help you grow and develop your best self, inside and out. Love is a language, and every heart has its own dialect. Somewhere in the hush between midnight and dawn, there's a silence that hums with both beauty and ache. Maybe you felt it too. The space where love lives, but words falter. You look at someone you care for, and you realize that despite your efforts, something keeps missing the mark. You bring them gifts, but they just want your time. You offer help, but they yearn for words. You try everything, yet still, they whisper, "I don't feel loved." Dr. Gary Chapman understands that silence. He has sat with thousands of couples, watched them speak with love in their eyes and pain in their voices, wondering how something so deep could feel so lost. His voice is calm, compassionate, steady, not a preacher, not a professor, but a translator of the human heart. His gift is clarity, to take the chaos of emotion and make it understandable, livable, possible again. And this is what he discovered, the truth that transformed countless relationships. Love is not one size fits all. It has languages. Just like English, Spanish, or Japanese, love has forms of expression. And if two people speak different ones, they may love deeply, yet fail to feel loved. There are 5 of these languages: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Each one is a vessel for love to travel through. And when you learn to speak the one your partner understands, everything changes. But to grasp the full beauty of this truth, we first need to begin where love begins, with the human need to feel seen. Every person carries an invisible emotional tank inside, like a reservoir for affection, validation, and care. When it's full, we feel secure, alive, capable of giving. When it's empty, even the smallest things feel heavy. A sigh sounds like rejection. A missed glance feels like neglect. And most of the time, when love fades in a relationship, it's not because it died, it's because that tank ran dry. We often assume love should be automatic, that if it's meant to be, it'll just happen. But the truth is far more human and far more beautiful. Love is something we choose to learn. It's something we build, word by word, gesture by gesture, act by act. Imagine standing in front of someone you adore and realizing they're fluent in a different language. You could pour out your soul, and still, they wouldn't understand. That's what happens in so many relationships. One partner says, "I love you," through time and effort. The other needs to hear it in words or feel it in touch. They keep missing each other, not for lack of love, but for lack of translation. So Gary Chapman became a translator. He began decoding the 5 ways people give and receive love, teaching couples how to fill each other's emotional tanks in the language that makes sense to them. And that is where this story truly begins. The first love language is words of affirmation. For some, words are everything. They are not decoration, they are nourishment. A single "I'm proud of you" or "you matter to me" fills their soul in ways nothing else can. To them, language is touch made of sound. These are the people who bloom under kind words, who treasure letters, who replay compliments in their heads when life feels cold. And when they're criticized, when silence replaces speech, they wilt. For them, love needs a voice. You see it in simple ways: a husband who writes little notes before work, a friend who says, "I love your laugh," a mother whispering, "I believe in you." Words can build worlds. They can restore trust, rebuild brokenness, or ignite hope in hearts that forgot how to hope. But they can also destroy. For those who speak this language, harsh words don't fade, they echo. Sarcasm can cut deeper than neglect. Negativity drains faster than silence. That's why, for those who love through words, kindness isn't optional, it's sacred. The second love language is quality time. Some people don't need words. They need presence. They measure love not in syllables, but in moments. For them, love is sitting side by side. No phones, no distractions, just listening. It's a walk around the block, A shared coffee, a conversation that meanders nowhere but feels like home. When they say, "You never spend time with me," what they mean is, "I miss being known." Gary once told a story about a couple on the brink of collapse. The husband was exhausted, working long hours to provide for his family. He thought that was love. He believed his sacrifices said it all, but his wife was starving for attention. She didn't want money, she wanted him. When he finally started giving her his undivided time, 20 minutes of true, focused listening a day, their marriage began to heal. For those who crave quality time, attention is affection. Every moment shared is a love note written in silence. When you give your time, you're giving the one thing you can never get back. And that's why it means everything. Then there's receiving gifts. It's easy to misunderstand this one. It's not about materialism or greed. It's about symbolism. A gift says, "I thought of you when you weren't here." For those who speak this language, tangible tokens become the proof of love remembered. It could be a flower from the yard, a handwritten note, a stone picked up during a walk. What matters isn't the price, but the presence behind it. A husband once told Gary that his wife loved presents, and he thought it was shallow until he realized what it represented to her. Each small surprise was a reminder that he cared even when he wasn't beside her. Gifts became her reassurance that she lived in his heart, not just his calendar. When you miss a birthday or forget a meaningful date, someone with this love language doesn't see carelessness, they feel invisible. To them, giving isn't about luxury. It's about remembrance. The fourth language is acts of service. Love isn't always spoken or wrapped, sometimes it's done. Some people feel most loved when you help lighten their load. Washing dishes, making a meal, fixing something broken, these aren't chores to them, they're expressions of love. When their partner lends a hand, their heart exhales. Because acts of service say what words can't. I see your effort, and I want to make your world easier. For these souls, actions speak louder than poetry. And yet, if those acts are done begrudgingly or resentfully, they lose all meaning. The power of this language lies not in the act itself, but in the spirit behind it. It's love translated into motion, a love that rolls up its sleeves and says, "I'm here for you." And then, there is physical touch. For some, love lives through skin. A hand on the back, a kiss on the forehead, a hug that lingers. These are not mere gestures, they are grounding. Touch communicates connection in its purest form. It says, "You're safe, you're loved, I'm with you." And when it's missing, people who speak this language feel adrift, even if everything else seems fine. It doesn't have to be passionate, it just has to be intentional. Holding hands, sitting close, a gentle touch in passing. It's the body's way of saying what the soul already knows. When touch is misused through coldness, neglect, or aggression, it's not just rejection, it's heartbreak. But when it's given freely and tenderly, it becomes the most honest language of all. These are the 5 love languages. Each one beautiful, each one powerful, each one necessary. And yet most of us speak only one fluently. That's where love begins to break down. We give love the way we want to receive it, assuming it will mean the same thing to the other person. But often, it doesn't. And that's the tragedy, 2 people trying their best, yet constantly missing each other's hearts. Learning to speak your partner's language is an act of humility. It says, "I'm willing to step outside of myself to love you the way you need to be loved." It's not manipulation, it's translation. And it's that choice, that effort, that transforms ordinary relationships into extraordinary ones. There's something else Gary noticed. That almost every couple he met started their story the same way, with the intoxicating high of being in love. That dizzy, euphoric stage where everything feels perfect, effortless, electric. You overlook flaws, idealize quirks, and believe the feeling will last forever. But that in-love experience, Chapman says, isn't meant to last, not because it's fake, but because it's biological. The rush of infatuation usually fades after about 2 years. The body relaxes, the chemicals settle, and what's left is an illusion. It's the opportunity for real love. Real love isn't a feeling, it's a commitment. It's a decision to act in the service of another person's growth and happiness. It's saying, even when I don't feel it, I choose it. That's what separates romance from devotion. Feelings are fleeting, but real love is built brick by brick, gesture by gesture, language by language. And yet sometimes we forget this truth. We start expecting love to sustain itself, and when it doesn't, we panic. We say, it shouldn't be this hard. But Chapman reminds us love isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be worth it. You, who are listening right now, might be in that space. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're still trying to love someone who doesn't seem to notice. Maybe your love tank has been empty for a long time. If that's you, take a breath, because this isn't the end, it's the moment before renewal. The moment you realize that love isn't gone, it just needs translation. Because when you learn to speak someone's language, truly speak it, you begin to understand the deepest truth of this book. Love is a choice, and every choice is a chance to begin again. Love, Gary Chapman teaches, is not something that simply happens to us, it's something we practice again and again. Feelings may start it, but choices sustain it. And if there's one truth that reshapes every relationship, it's this: love is intentional. When the rush fades and life grows busy, bills to pay, children to raise, chores to finish, love becomes quieter, subtler. It hides in the folds of everyday life. And that's where the 5 love languages become not just theory, but a lifeline. They help us recognize that love doesn't vanish. It just changes its rhythm. The trick is to keep dancing even when the music shifts. The most heartbreaking thing, Chapman says, isn't when people stop loving, it's when they stop understanding. They stand across from each other, each shouting in a different emotional language, both unheard. But when they finally learn to listen, when one starts to say, I love you, not the way they want to, but the way their partner needs, something miraculous happens. The walls soften, the air clears, the love tank begins to fill again. Imagine that for a moment. A marriage on the edge, years of resentment, silence, exhaustion, and suddenly, one small act of love, spoken in the right language, changes everything. The husband who starts writing short notes, the wife who finally reaches out and holds his hand. A gesture, tiny and fragile, but full of meaning. That's the power of the languages. They restore hope where words have failed. But how do you know which one is yours? Or your partner's? Chapman gives a few simple ways to find out. Ask yourself, what do I most often request from my partner? Do I ask them to spend time with me, to say kind words, to hug me more, to help with things around the house, to bring me little surprises? What I ask for most often is probably what I value most deeply. Or think about what hurts the most when it's missing. When you feel unloved, what is it that you long for? A touch? A word? Attention? Understanding your pain points often reveals your language. And finally, look at how you most naturally show love to others. Do you serve, touch, gift, speak, or spend time? Often the language you speak is the one you want to receive. Sometimes the results are surprising. Couples discover that what they thought their partner wanted wasn't what truly mattered. One woman realized her husband didn't care about expensive gifts, he just wanted her to stop multitasking when they talked. Another man discovered that his wife didn't need constant words of love, she needed a partner who helped carry the load. It's humbling to realize that love, at its deepest level, asks us to see beyond ourselves. Chapman also explores the delicate balance between love and the will to love. The in-love experience, that early euphoria, where everything feels effortless, is actually governed by our biology. The chemicals of infatuation make us idealize our partner and ignore flaws. But inevitably, that fades. And when it does, we often mistake that normal shift for failure. Yet the truth is, that's where the real work begins, the stage of conscious love. Conscious love says, I now see your flaws, and I choose you anyway. It's no longer driven by emotion, but by intention. It's not about chasing a high. It's about building a home. It's not about needing, but giving. And that's the space where the 5 languages become essential. When emotion cools, intention takes over, and intention needs direction. These languages give it form. They become the compass that keeps the heart aligned when feelings waver. But Chapman knew that learning a new language takes time. You don't master it overnight. You start awkwardly, haltingly, trying phrases, getting them wrong, trying again. At first, it feels unnatural. But little by little, it begins to feel right. He shares countless stories of couples who transformed their relationships this way through persistence, humility, and grace. One man confessed that he didn't understand why his wife was so distant. He was a provider, always busy, always working. But she felt unseen. When he learned that her primary love language was quality time, he started coming home 30 minutes earlier, sitting with her, no TV, no phone, just conversation. At first, it was awkward, they didn't know what to say. But soon, laughter returned, tenderness returned, love returned. Another woman realized her husband's language was acts of service. She had always given affection through words and touch, but what he longed for was partnership, shared responsibility. She began helping with the small things he usually handled alone. And the shift was instant. He softened. He smiled more. He reached for her hand again. The smallest acts, when spoken in the right language, become miracles. Chapman also reminds us that the 5 love languages don't only apply to couples. They ripple into every part of life with children, parents, friends, even coworkers. A child whose love language is words of affirmation needs praise more than presence. A friend who thrives on quality time feels loved when you simply sit and talk. Even in workplaces, understanding these languages builds better teams' appreciation, presence, support, service, encouragement. Love, in every form, heals. And yet, there's a deeper layer. Sometimes love must keep giving even when it feels one-sided. Chapman speaks to those moments when one partner has already emotionally checked out. When love feels empty. When you're giving and giving, but nothing seems to change. He calls this the love challenge. He tells the story of a woman named Allison. Her marriage was cold. Her husband was distant, critical, unresponsive. She was ready to leave. But Gary asked her to try one thing: to speak her husband's love language consistently for 6 months, expecting nothing in return. She discovered that his language was acts of service. So she began helping him in quiet ways, cooking his favorite meals, maintaining their home, doing small things that mattered to him. At first, nothing happened, but slowly he softened. He started to talk more. One day, he asked her why she was being so kind. She told him the truth that she wanted to love him the way he needed to be loved. 2 months later, he said something she hadn't heard in years. "I love you." It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's love in action. Love given freely, without expectation, has power. It can break walls of bitterness and open hearts that have long been closed. But what about when things go wrong, when words wound, when mistakes pile up? Chapman acknowledges that even in the best relationships, we hurt each other. Sometimes through carelessness, sometimes through fatigue. And when that happens, apology becomes its own love language. He teaches that a sincere apology isn't just saying, "I'm sorry." It's expressing regret in the way the other person can receive. Some people need to hear the words. Others need to see changed behavior. Some need restitution, a way to make things right. Others need time and consistent effort to rebuild trust. Learning to apologize in the other person's dialect is just as crucial as learning to love in it. Because forgiveness blooms in understanding. You, listening to this, might be realizing how love has been trying to reach you, or how you've been trying to reach someone else. You might be thinking of moments when you felt unseen, unheard, untouched. That's okay. Every one of us starts there. Love is learned through imperfection. We stumble, we fail, we try again. There's beauty in that struggle, because when you keep choosing love, when you learn their language and speak it, even clumsily, you begin to change not only your relationship, but yourself. Love, after all, is both a mirror and a teacher. It shows you what's missing inside and invites you to grow into it. As you begin to learn these languages, remember this mantra: love is a choice, and every choice is a seed. Every time you speak your partner's language, you plant something. It may be small at first, a seed of connection, of hope, of renewal. It might take time to sprout, but it will. It always does. And one day when you look back, you'll see that love didn't just survive. It transformed. Love, when spoken fluently, reshapes everything it touches. It doesn't erase the past, but it reinterprets it, softens the edges, rewrites the silence, brings meaning where there was once confusion. Gary Chapman reminds us that learning to love in another's language doesn't just repair relationships. It heals the deeper parts of ourselves that were once afraid to try. Because what we give, we often receive. When you learn to love intentionally, you awaken something ancient and gentle within you, a capacity to listen differently, to see differently, to respond differently. And in that transformation, love stops being a performance and becomes a practice. But let's go deeper into what this really means in daily life. The 5 love languages aren't theoretical. They're lived in kitchens, hallways, offices, bedrooms, and quiet moments when no one's watching. They're the difference between simply coexisting and truly connecting. Let's take words of affirmation again. This language asks for verbal love, yes, but it also asks for awareness. It challenges you to see your partner's worth and reflect it back to them. Compliments become sacred when they're sincere. It's not just saying, "You're beautiful." It's saying, "I see how much effort you put into that project today," or "You make this place feel like home." It's naming what's true about them and saying it out loud. Words of affirmation aren't about sugarcoating. They're about truth-telling with love. And when spoken often, they build emotional safety. You never have to wonder if you're appreciated when your partner speaks your language daily. Then there's quality time. This one's harder in our modern world, a world addicted to distraction, where presence feels like a luxury. But for someone who values quality time, being half present is worse than not being there at all. They can feel the distance even if you're sitting right next to them. So loving them means making space. It means giving the gift of your attention. Turning toward them, not just being near them. It means listening not to reply, but to understand. You might be surprised how healing that is to be truly heard. Sometimes, Chapman says, love is simply putting down your phone. Receiving gifts carries another quiet lesson. It teaches that love isn't measured by size or cost, but by intention. Each gift, no matter how small, becomes a symbol of remembrance, a reminder that you were on someone's mind even when they were far away. The best gifts often come with stories. "I saw this and thought of you. This reminded me of that day we laughed so hard." It's never about extravagance. It's about saying, "You are not forgotten." And when you speak this language, you learn mindfulness, to look for moments and mementos that carry emotion, to see beauty in the little things, and to offer them as tokens of care. Then comes acts of service. This one transforms love into movement. It's for the partners who feel loved not by hearing it or seeing it, but by feeling it through action. Doing the laundry, fixing something broken, bringing coffee in the morning. These things may look ordinary, but to someone whose language is acts of service, they are declarations of love. But here's the heart of it. The attitude matters more than the act. A resentful gesture doesn't communicate love. It communicates obligation. When you act from care, not duty, your effort becomes emotional currency. You're saying, "I want to make your day easier, your burden lighter," and that message is priceless. Finally, there's physical touch. This one is primal, ancient, wordless. It bypasses intellect and speaks directly to the nervous system. For those who need it, touch is assurance. A hand on the back says, "I'm with you." A hug after a long day says, "You can rest here." It's not about lust or ownership, it's about connection. A gentle brush on the arm, a kiss on the forehead. Even a simple squeeze of the hand can carry the entire vocabulary of affection. When that's their language, touch is not optional, it's essential. But touch must always be safe, respectful, and mutual. Love through touch thrives only in trust. As you begin to see the world through these languages, something shifts. You start noticing how each person expresses love differently: your friends, your parents, your children, even yourself. Suddenly, love isn't this mysterious force that comes and goes. It's a skill, a craft, a translation. Chapman often said that the happiest couples are not those who found a perfect match, but those who became fluent in each other's language. They made love a daily practice, something to be tended, not assumed. Because love fades when it's left unspoken, but when you water it with the right words, moments, gestures, and touch, it grows again. And here's a truth that's easy to forget. Even when you don't feel love, you can still choose it. Sometimes love starts with an action, not a feeling. You do the thing your partner needs, even when you don't feel like it. You speak their language before your own emotions catch up. And then something almost mystical happens. Your actions awaken your heart. That's the paradox of love. The doing brings back the feeling. Gary Chapman tells us that love is never lost. It's simply waiting to be spoken in the right tongue. Even relationships that seem irreparable can rediscover tenderness through intentional effort. Because when love is practiced as a verb, it becomes unstoppable. He also explains that when both partners learn each other's love languages, conflict changes shape. Arguments don't disappear, but they soften. You stop fighting for validation and start fighting for each other. The focus shifts from, "You never make me feel loved," to, "How can I love you better?" That question, asked sincerely, can change everything. And sometimes, Chapman says, one person must go first. Even if your partner isn't trying, even if they've withdrawn, one consistent heart can still move the other. Because love given freely without demand, without scorekeeping, carries a quiet power that can melt even the hardest resentment. It might not happen overnight, but consistency heals what grand gestures cannot. Love spoken fluently, repeatedly, faithfully, it rewires the heart. Let's pause for a breath. If you're listening to this and thinking of someone, a partner, a friend, a parent, a child, and your chest feels heavy, that's okay. That heaviness is not regret. It's recognition. It's your heart remembering what it's capable of. Maybe you're realizing you've been speaking your own love language for too long, hoping they'd translate. Maybe you felt unseen because no one speaks yours. Either way, this realization isn't a failure. It's an invitation. You can begin again, right here, right now. Love is not a moment in the past. It's a decision in the present. To love in a lasting way means to live in a constant rhythm of learning. You will misstep, stumble, say the wrong words, give the wrong gifts, miss a cue. But if your intention is to keep trying to listen, to adjust, to translate, then love will always find its way back to you. Because love, when chosen again and again, is unbreakable. The love languages are not rules. They're bridges. They help us cross the space between hearts, a space that can feel infinite, but is bridged by a single phrase, a single act, a single hand reaching out. And if you carry nothing else from Chapman's work, carry this mantra: love is a choice, and every choice is a chance to begin again. Say it with me in your heart: love is a choice. Every choice is a chance. When you choose love, even when it feels undeserved or unseen, you step into one of the most sacred acts of being human. You become a vessel for healing, not only for your relationship, but for yourself. Because love given freely doesn't just reach outward. It echoes inward. It reminds you that you are capable of patience, compassion, and depth beyond what pain ever convinced you of. Gary Chapman saw this again and again in his counseling office. People who entered his room angry, defeated, or distant would, over time, rediscover each other not by magic, but through effort. He learned that love rekindled through intention becomes stronger than the love that first began by accident. It becomes earned, and anything earned holds more meaning. But how do you sustain it? How do you keep love alive once you've learned the language? Chapman offers gentle, practical wisdom for this, not lofty ideals, but daily practices that keep the love tank full. Start by paying attention. Watch what fills your partner's spirit and what drains it. Notice the small things, the way they light up when you thank them, or how they lean in when you really listen. Let awareness become your compass. Then, practice consistency. Love languages aren't seasonal, they're daily dialects. You don't speak them once and expect a lifetime of understanding. You keep speaking them, especially when you least feel like it. Love spoken in difficulty weighs more than love spoken in ease. Chapman often said that the secret to lasting relationships isn't grand gestures, it's maintenance. Like tending a garden, you pull the weeds early, you water often, and you don't stop when the weather changes. The effort becomes a rhythm, and the rhythm becomes peace. Now, there's a truth he wants every person to understand. Your love tank and your partner's will not stay full automatically. Life drains it. Stress, distraction, misunderstanding, they all take their toll. But the beauty of love languages is that they give you the tools to refill it together. Let's imagine this. You come home after a long day, exhausted. You see your partner, and instead of sinking into silence, you take a moment to reach out a hug, a few sincere words, a small act of service, whatever their language is. That simple choice begins to fill both your tanks again. That's how relationships thrive, through repeated micro gestures of care. Chapman even notes that learning your own love language is an act of self-awareness. When you know how you receive love, you can communicate it clearly instead of resenting silently. You stop expecting people to read your mind and start teaching them how to reach you. That too is love, the courage to be known. But love isn't only about two people in harmony. Sometimes it's about finding your balance when the person you love can't meet you halfway. There will be moments, perhaps there already have been, when love feels one-sided. You're giving, and the other person isn't responding. You're learning their language, but they're still speaking only theirs. It hurts. It feels unfair. And yet, Chapman urges us to keep speaking love, not forever in self-erasure, but long enough to give grace a chance. Because sometimes the act of unconditional love awakens something dormant in the other. They begin to see your patience, your effort, your faithfulness, and it disarms them. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, they start to soften. That's not weakness. That's quiet power. Love can break down defenses that logic never could. And if, after all that effort, you find the other person still unwilling, then the love you've given isn't wasted. It has changed you. It has made you fluent in kindness, patience, empathy. And that language will serve you for life, because no act of love is ever lost. It lingers, it echoes, it teaches. Chapman's wisdom also reaches beyond romance into the way we love our children, our families, our communities. He often saw parents who couldn't understand their kids. A mother who gave endless hugs, but whose child only wanted to be told, "I'm proud of you." A father who bought gifts to show affection when his daughter just wanted him to play catch. Love was there, but it was untranslated. When parents begin to speak their child's language, the child's heart begins to bloom. A simple, "I love how hard you tried," can fill a child's emotional tank more than an expensive toy. A few minutes of shared laughter can mean more than any praise. Children who grow up with full love tanks become adults who know how to love well. They don't chase approval, they create connection. And it doesn't stop there. Love languages can transform friendships, workplaces, and even leadership. Imagine a boss who understands that appreciation isn't one size fits all, who praises some publicly, gives others private affirmation, and offers acts of support to the ones who need help most. Love, in its purest form, is the currency of trust everywhere it's spoken. Chapman's teaching reminds us that love, at its highest form, is not possession, it's expression. It's the art of saying, "I see you, I hear you, you matter." There's a moment in every relationship where the question arises, is love enough? When the excitement fades, when misunderstandings pile up, when pain outweighs the laughter, is love still enough? Chapman would say yes, but only when it's practiced. Love is not self-sustaining. It's not a feeling to fall into. It's a discipline to rise into. He tells the story of a husband and wife who had grown so disconnected they barely spoke. When they discovered their languages, hers being quality time, his being acts of service, they began to bridge the distance. He started setting aside time to listen, and she began helping with tasks he found burdensome. Slowly, their resentment turned into rhythm. Their silence turned into laughter. That's the quiet miracle of love in translation. It doesn't erase imperfection, it turns it into understanding. At this point, Chapman invites us to pause and reflect, because the goal is to memorize 5 categories. It's to internalize the heart behind them, to realize that love requires intentionality, humility, and persistence. It's not about asking, how can I be loved more? But how can I love better? You, listening right now, have that power. The ability to turn an ordinary moment into something sacred simply by being mindful of how you give and receive love. When you walk into a room, you carry your own language and the potential to learn another's. And when you do, you become a translator of peace, a builder of bridges, a restorer of hearts. Maybe today, love feels fragile for you, stretched thin, uncertain. Maybe your own tank is empty. But remember this, even an empty tank can still pour, drop by drop, into another's because giving love often refills your own. That's the paradox of the heart. And so, Chapman closes his message not with advice, but with hope. He reminds us that love, in its truest form, is not bound by fear or pride. It's expansive, alive, and learning. When you commit to love to truly speak it, every day you will see your relationships transform. You will begin to notice small miracles, smiles where there were frowns, laughter where there was silence, tenderness where there was distance. Love, spoken consistently, rewrites the story of every home, every marriage, every friendship it touches. And if you remember nothing else, remember this one truth: love is a choice, and every choice is a chance to begin again. As we come to the quiet end of this journey, imagine love like a sunrise. It doesn't burst into the sky all at once. It rises slowly, painting light into every dark corner until the world feels warm again. That's what learning to love does. It brings dawn back to places that thought they'd never see daylight. So speak love, in words, in time, in gifts, in acts, in touch. Speak it until it feels natural again. Speak it until it fills every space between you and the ones you cherish. Because love is not about being perfect, it's about being present. And presence, spoken in the right language, is the purest form of I love you. If this touched something in you, share it. Let someone else feel what you felt. Let these words ripple outward, like light across still water. Because every shared story of love becomes an invitation for another to begin again. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, not for me, but to keep this message moving so that someone, somewhere, can remember that love can still be learned, still be spoken, still be saved. And as you go, carry this truth gently with you. Love is a choice. Every choice is a seed. And every seed, in time, becomes light.